What is up, everybody? I am Caleb from GamerFaith.com, and I have been reading this awesome book lately. It's called the Bible, and my father wrote it. What's up, everybody? I've been getting a lot of messages, or several, I should say, asking me, how do you study the Bible, or do you have any advice for how I could study the Bible, or what are your tips for beginning to read the Bible? And this book is so important, guys. It is so important, and I know a lot of you guys have your own battles that you're working through, and this resource is, you can't underestimate this resource, because it is super crucial, and I encourage you guys to read it, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to understand it, possibly, or to know where to start, because it's big, and sometimes just starting at the beginning and going starting at page 1 and working your way all the way to the back cover, that can be hard for some people and overwhelming. And to be honest with you, the Old Testament is probably more difficult to work through than the New Testament, especially if you don't have an understanding at all of the New Testament. That can be tricky. So that doesn't work for everybody, although I have known some people to read the Bible that way. So I personally don't just go. Some people spend a year, and every year they go front to back, front to back, front to back. That's personally not how I study it. Now, before we begin, I would like to make a point to say that I am not an expert on this. God has worked on my heart a lot, and He has shown me different things, and the way that I have studied the Bible in the past is different from how I study now, and it will probably be different than the way that I study in the future. But I'm here to give you guys a few guiding points of advice, possibly for you to consider. Ultimately, though, you guys should pray about it. You guys should seek God's wisdom, and maybe consider some of these things, but don't take anything I'm saying as an absolute or anything like that. But I'm hoping that a few of the things that I mention here can help you to start getting into reading it. And it seems overwhelming at first, but guys, hang in there, and eventually, like, you'll start to realize, like, oh wow, like I'm seeing how this pieces together. If you give it enough time, you'll start to see, like if you just take this chunk, you may be like, I don't quite understand, God. But like, if you take this chunk and this chunk and this, you'll begin to see the web. Like, oh, I start to see why all of this is important in revealing the truth to me. And so don't give up. Hang in there and keep reading. So with that, I'm going to give you a few pieces of advice. I'm going to tell you how I used to study the Bible when I first started reading it more seriously, and how I kind of do now. I'm going to give you a few resources, and at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you something that is pretty cool, that is a big resource that, if it works out right, I'm hoping helps you guys out a lot, and will possibly help you and I to get to know each other a little bit better, and maybe study the Bible together. Does that sound mysterious? Okay, we'll get to that later. So in general, when I am studying the Bible as a whole, like my day-to-day reading, I like to study one book at a time. I don't necessarily like to limit or place expectations for how much or how little I should read. However, if that helps you to read it to an extent, it would be better to do it that way than to not read it at all. And basically what I'm meaning to say is, I try not to say to myself, I'm going to read one chapter a day, because maybe one day I'm supposed to read more than one chapter, or maybe one day I'm supposed to focus on less than a chapter but really spend some time digging in there. But I do oftentimes work my way through a chapter at a time, because taking a chapter in instead of like, let's take a verse here and a verse here and a verse here, that can get really frantic. And so I like to generally study a chapter at a time. When I first started reading the Bible more seriously, and that might be where you guys are at right now, I highly recommend starting with the New Testament. There might be some people that would disagree with that, and they honestly might be right. And what's right for you as far as studying the Bible, like I said, God knows best. And so, but I like to suggest starting with the New Testament, because understanding the New Testament can help you understand the Old Testament a little bit better and appreciate the Old Testament a little bit better. And I have not read through all the way through the Old Testament. I'm still working through it. But I have found that after I have got to know the New Testament pretty well, I read through all of that, I believe, and studied some here and there before I started really getting into the Old Testament. But when I started getting into the Old Testament, I found a video series that helped with Genesis. That was a study session. I started doing a Bible study, hosting that at my house, and we'd watch these videos or do slides or whatever and going through Genesis. And then I started working through Genesis and then Exodus, and kept going. And I found that understanding what takes place and what's going on in the Old Testament really helps you to appreciate what is fulfilled and what happens in the New Testament more. So don't undervalue the Old Testament, because it definitely has a purpose and a place, so don't undervalue it. I encourage you guys to study both, but if you're just starting, it might be easier and more fulfilling to wrap your mind around some of the New Testament concepts and ideas and stuff like that. And you very well may want to start with one of the Gospels, which is the story of Jesus, and there's from different perspectives. You can read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. They're telling us the same story but from different perspectives, and all of them have very valuable elements to them. So I encourage you guys to read a gospel. You might not want to read them all straight in a row, but I encourage you guys to read one and then maybe pick another book in the New Testament to read, to kind of split them up if you feel like you maybe want to break in between reading those gospels. Each one, though, is valuable. I do encourage you to read them all. So what Christ did for us is really talked about a lot in the New Testament, and it's really amplified when you have an understanding of the covenants and the things, the fall, and the covenants that God had with the people of Israel, and the prophecies and all that stuff, and how Jesus fulfills all that stuff. And it's really amazing how it all ties together. So I encourage you guys to look into that and see how it all kind of comes together in such an awesome way. It can also be helpful for you guys to understand like the big picture of things. And there are a few resources that I will recommend. Once again, like I said before about myself, like, don't take these resources themselves as the ultimate authority. God is the authority, but you can use these resources hopefully to be helpful for you. One that I've really enjoyed is the Bible Project. And specifically, they have theme-based videos and book-based videos. And they have a theme-based video about the Messiah. And I recommend you guys go over to the Bible Project channel. I'll try to link to it in the description here. Go there and watch the video on Messiah, and that helps you get a basic understanding of Old Testament and New Testament. And then you can also watch, they've got individual like books of the Bible I encourage you to watch those. They're fun to watch. They're pretty short, but they're packed with information, and they're pretty cool. I definitely recommend doing that. So when I first started reading, I started reading in the New Testament, and I believe I just was like, hey, I'm going to just start with Corinthians, and I started going, and things started popping out to me. And so if you're really stuck, maybe just pick a book. Romans is really good. Corinthians is really good. They're all really good. If you're struggling with like the law and why do we follow certain laws, or what laws should we follow, or what rules, and blah, blah, blah. I had that question for a really, really, really long time, and I was really inhibited by a lot of things for a really long time. And so if that's you, and that's probably some of you, and I hope this helps some of you, I recommend you guys go read Hebrews. Read Hebrews. It should be really helpful for you if that is something that you're personally struggling with. The Gospels are really good. Pick a book and start reading it if you are completely don't know where to start, and start working through the New Testament and get some of that. And I think you'll find that things are really, probably going to be standing out to you, and you'll be learning something after you have understood like a basic for a lot of this stuff. It might be helpful for you to dig into more detail. There's a never-ending amount. You're never going to find everything that there is to find and appreciate in the Bible, but God will continue to reveal stuff to you when you're reading the Bible. So you can keep digging deep, looking at details. Desiring God is another channel on YouTube that's a great resource, and they have a series called Look at the Book. And I'll try to link to that as well, that channel, and you can find the Look at the Book section. And they're very, very good about digging deep and going down to individual words and stuff like that. It's very cool and interesting, and that can be a good way for you to study the Bible too. So there's that resource. So I've listed 2 resources on YouTube for you to check out. I also recommend getting a highlighter. That's helpful for me just to stay focused, and it can also feel pretty cool to know where, how much you've looked at different things, or maybe areas you've neglected and you should read more. I having a highlighter in my hand just helps me in general to focus more on what I'm reading and pick out things and go back and think oh, wait a minute, this is so cool. And God has really taught and shown me some important things from His Word at the right time. So stay plugged in to reading the Bible. And so that's a practical physical resource. Get a highlighter. You can get commentaries, you can get books on all this stuff, and another free one online is blueletterbible.org, and you can get translations for specific words. You can read many different translations of the Bible. You can search by verse. You can do all sorts of amazing things. You can listen to audio commentaries on specific verses. Go over there. That website is awesome. So if you're wanting more detail on a specific section and you're wanting to study that, check out blueletterbible.org. It's free. It's really awesome. You can donate to, I assume, all of these causes to kind of help them. And that might be something that you feel laid on your heart to help these resources if you find that they're very helpful to you. So it's super important too, if you have other friends that you can get to do maybe a Bible study with. And I've had a lot of fun getting together and doing Bible studies with with my fiance, my brother, friends that have come over from work, and etc. And that can be really helpful to have that sort of fellowship with brothers and sisters in Christ. And so I encourage you to consider doing that with some friends, because sometimes you'll bounce ideas off and see things that you didn't quite, necessarily realize the first time through. And you can, as far as Bible studying is concerned, I'm gonna bring up one more resource resource. I'm going to bring up one more resource for you guys that will hopefully be helpful to you in the future. I'm still trying to figure out the details on this, so but I'm hoping that it works out. But my brother and a friend and myself and my fiance, we're all kind of trying to discuss this way of doing a Gamer Faith Bible study. And the way that would be done is we would stream live on YouTube through Google Hangouts, and we would assign a certain verse or chapter to read beforehand. And then we would meet for a half hour, 45 minutes, hour, whatever it was. We would meet and kind of talk about that and have a Bible study. Now, you guys can leave comments and feedback for us, and that can help us in shaping future videos and stuff like that. And we can listen to that and kind of interact. You guys can also head over to the gamerfaith.com website, and there's forums there where you guys can discuss what you're reading or discuss what we're going through in the Gamer Faith Bible study. So I hope that is helpful to some of you guys and will help you guys to get into the Word and see some awesome new things. I'm thinking, this is tentative, but at this point, I'm thinking that June 3rd at 7 p.m. That we'll probably be meeting live. So if you're subscribed to this channel, mark that date if you want to stop by. June 3rd, 7 p.m. I believe it's a Wednesday, and we will probably be doing either starting a book, or Matthew 6 is standing out to me lately. So I'm thinking we might start with Matthew 6 and do kind of a theme thing. We'll probably work through books at some point if we get rolling and we're liking that. So hit that subscribe button. Oh, if you can't make it to the live event, don't worry about it. That video will be published then on the channel, so you'll be able to watch that later. But if you're big and all about like, yeah, I want to be there right when it first starts, or like you like the live thing, like you want to be there while we're there and kind of experiencing it, that's why I give you that time. So that's the tentative time. We're going to aim for that. I know that I didn't get super specific with you guys on exactly how to study the Bible, and I honestly did that on purpose because I don't want to limit you guys with what works for me. Like, God has placed things in a certain way in my life to reach my heart, and I don't want to say that, you know, God operates within this box where he has to do it the same way for everybody. So the way that you study the Bible might be a little bit different than the way that I study the Bible, but it's very important that we do study the Bible. If you head over to the gamerfaith.com website, there's an article called "It's Dangerous to Go Alone, Take This," and that is about reading your Bible. I encourage you guys to check that out, as well as check out the forums if you want to. Those are just getting started up, so if you want to be like a real brother and pal to me, or sister, you can write on those forums, and there's not a lot on there right now, but we're trying to get it rolling so that you guys can talk to each other and have accountability partners and etc. Leave a comment if you want to tell me your story, or if you want to suggest a video for me to make of a certain topic or whatever, or a certain Bible theme you want me to read. I hope that this helps you guys in some way, gives you some ideas that you maybe didn't think of. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have really been uplifting to me more than I can say on several occasions. I read your guys' comments, I hear your stories, I'm praying for you. You guys really mean a lot to me, and I thank you so much for making this community such an awesome place to hang out. I hope that you guys have an awesome day, and maybe I'll see you around. Don't be shy, feel free to message me, and I love you guys. I'll be praying for you. Have an awesome day.